I'm in this park in Cheshire again, and I'm surrounded by nature, as you can see. I say nature because it's all been planted, this stuff. So it's actually nothing natural here at all, in the sense of it being purely emergent from non-human processes. But you know, it's got trees and stuff in it. But I was watching this video with Slavoj Zizek. I'll put a link to it in the in the information box. And he's great on nature. Now, you know, he comes the nearest to expressing what I would like to be able to express in terms of a feeling about what nature is. First off, he says there's no such thing as nature, and then goes on to explain why he thinks that. But he's also critiquing other kinds of understandings of nature. This idea of nature as a kind of maternal, nurturing, holistic place, a place of balance and a circle of life, and you know, that whole kind of it's not exactly pantheistic, but that whole kind of view of the Gaia nature thing, you know what I mean, even in its most benign form, he says, is misguided. And he says when we're describing nature in those terms, we're not describing nature, we're describing how we feel about nature, or how we feel that nature we would like nature to be, or how nature makes us feel when it's behaving itself. It's those kinds of things we're talking about, and of course we're bound to feel like that because, you know, we're part of that process. So we're really just describing our position as cogs in the nature machine. We're not really talking about nature itself. And as I say, he says there's no such thing as nature, and in fact he says the whole idea of nature is this balanced, holistic, kind of organismic model of nature. You know, the kind of models of nature that are coming forward to replace mechanical models of nature. The stuff that, what's he called, the guy who wrote Turning Point, Fritjof Capra, talks about. You know, this nature is a gigantic organism, which Gaia most clearly represents, but there's lots of other kind of references to it like that. He says that whole idea is bullshit and misleading, because it gives this impression that, as I say, you know, nature is this kind of well-oiled, homeostatic, embodied engine of imagination and production. When actuality, it says, nature is a series of breakages and kludges and badly designed elements and patches and fractures. You know, he says it's all built on imbalance, and it's all built out of ill-fitting parts, and if there wasn't any of those things, there wouldn't be anything. Everything we see, he says, all this stuff, all these trees, these dogs, ourselves, life itself, has emerged out of the grinding of the gears, because the whole thing's out of whack, and it couldn't be put into whack. There is no whack to put it into. It's a whack-free zone. I'm walking around in here. There's no whack. And he says that's from the beginning. He doesn't give examples, but you can kind of imagine. I know there are some theories of universal origin, you know, Big Bang kind of theories, which talk about that as being fluctuations in the kind of quantum whatevers, you know what I mean? So it starts off with a discontinuity, and discontinuity and breakages and imbalances have powered the system since, really, or these things we see around us have been responses to those discontinuities, including life itself. You know, life doesn't emerge, creatures don't emerge kind of bidden and naturally. They emerge out of the fault lines. They emerge in the fault lines of a kind of foamy, broken up, you know, that kind of thing, really. I mean, I kind of imagine it like a dancer at the end of time. There's a Michael Moorcock story called Dances at the End of Time, which is a great set of books. But I imagine a dancer at the beginning of time, you know, like a ballet dancer, you know, doing this pirouette, which is like the moment of, let's just imagine that like a myth. Like this ballet dancer does this pirouette on the top of a quantum fluctuation moment, just before the Big Bang. But the Big Bang is a moment of imbalance, you know, so that the pirouette goes off a bit, and she starts to do this, you know, she starts to wobble about a bit, and to keep her balance she's having to throw out an arm here, or stick a leg out here, or take a step in this direction, move her head around, shift her weight quite a bit. And all these shiftings of weight are compensations for imbalance, or opportunities that have emerged from imbalance, if you want to be slightly more positive about it. And this whole bizarre dance that she finds herself having to do just to stop herself falling flat on her face is throwing up all these movements. And these movements are trees, and these movements are dogs, and these movements are humans, and these movements is life. But it's not the well choreographed, carefully organised dance that's, you know, written by the great choreographer in the sky, nor is it the smooth operation of a carefully, tightly organised and tightly constrained improvisation. It's a face-saving exercise with a drunken dancer at the beginning of time, trying not to hurt herself, but unfortunately throwing out a lot of things that do get hurt in the process. Anyway, that's not what Slavoj Zizek says. But he does talk about the brokenness, and how we have to confront the brokenness. We have to see the rubbish that we produce, and we have to see the damage that we do. Which isn't to say that we'd just give up. We live in a broken world, or in a world that emerges out of brokenness, and that's the situation. So you work with that. You don't blank it and pretend that it's all natural. Natural Cheshire, look. Every single tree planted by a worker on minimum wages.